In a sense, we have a lot going on in the readings today, in the celebration of the day, combination of the two. So there's a lot going on. It's pretty powerful, and we want to talk about that. Welcome to the Catholic Audio Media Podcast, and you're hearing us on your favorite podcast platform. And of course, you know my name is Father Robert J. Carr. Well, in any case, you got to understand how the readings in the liturgy go, because you have particular days. And then you have the liturgy, the readings that have their own continuity. But some of those days have an option for reading those as well. For example, I celebrated Mass in Portuguese for the Brazilians the other day. And there's two options for the first reading. There's the two options. One is from Daniel and one is from the Apocalypse, the book of Revelation. In Portuguese and Spanish, they don't call it Revelation, they call it the Apocalypse. So, which they used to do in English, but no longer. But in any case, so reading from what we would call the book of Revelation or the other. So it was an option. So which one do you choose? But that was actually for the day. That day always has that option. On this particular day, we have, which is usually the case when it's this level of celebration, which is a memorial, you have the continuity reading, which is the readings that follow along as they've been going. So we've been reading from Nehemiah, and the continuity continues in Nehemiah. Or you've got a reading specific to that day. The church prefers you follow the continuity. So that's what I tend to do. Now, why this is important is there's two calendars we're dealing with. There is the calendar, which we could call the regular calendar, also the Gregorian calendar, which is October 2nd. And what is October 2nd? The Memorial of the Guardian Angels. Okay, it's a celebration of the Guardian Angels. So it's always October 2nd, but we're also looking at the readings for this week on a Thursday. And so that's always an important consideration as well. So, and in that case, what we have is two totally different calendars. You've got the liturgical calendar, which is the readings for the 26th week in ordinary time on a Thursday. And then you have the calendar of celebrations, which is the Memorial of the Guardian Angels. Each have their own separate readings, but the preferred is the one for ordinary time. So, and this one for ordinary time is a very well-known and powerful reading from Nehemiah. And remember what we're talking about. We're all talking about the same time over the past several weeks. We're talking about the rebuilding of Judah after the Babylonian exile. So we see the building of Judah after the rebuilding of Judah after the Babylonian exile. And therefore, this is going to focus on that, but we're also looking at the guardian angels. Very powerful feast as well. Now, it's a memorial. Remember, there's three levels of feast. There's the solemnity, there is the feast, which was not yesterday, on Monday, and then there is the memorial. Yesterday was St. Jerome. That's a memorial. So we have the three levels. Today is the level which is memorial, and there's actually a fourth level, and that is just a regular day. So, for example, tomorrow is Friday of the 26th week of ordinary time. So it's not a memorial, it's not a feast, and it's not a solemnity. It's just a regular day. Well, that's tomorrow. So we're dealing with all of that in this day, and there's a powerful reading and a powerful celebration. And it speaks so much for us today. It's very powerful. So let us first talk about the guardian angels. Once we're talking about the guardian angels, and no, I'm not referring to anything to do with the mayoral election in New York. That's a whole different thing. If you don't know what that means, you can look it up and you'll figure it out. Because I don't live in New York. But in any way, this is the memorial of the guardian angels. Well, this is a huge feast if you really think about it, because it runs on our belief that every person has a guardian angel. And now you're getting into, if you're gonna believe that, which obviously I do, then you're getting into a whole different understanding of anthropology. Is what I bring up all the time. Because we believe in angels. Well, what are angels? Angels are spiritual beings. They're spirits. They don't have a body like we do. They're spirits. Well, what makes that important is by the fact that we believe in guardian angels, we believe in the spiritual world. And by the fact we believe in the spiritual world, we believe that there is a part of our universe that is outside our ability to perceive it. And remember what Jesus said about the Holy Spirit. It is like the wind, and it blows where it will, it does whatever, right? So you can see the effects of the wind, but you can't see the wind itself. Well, it's the same thing with angels. We can see the effects of angels at times, but not necessarily the angels themselves. At times you can, or no, at times people have seen angels, they will testify, but that's really not the norm, so to speak. So this really leads us to believe in a universe that's bigger than our perception, and this is huge. This is really huge. This is like someone coming to discover a whole new, well, it literally is, a whole new level of physics. We believe in a spiritual world. This is one of the reasons why I really don't, those little ghost channels, I get a kick out of them, to tell you the truth. But those little I don't watch the Ghost Hunters. But those little ghost channels, what's one? Slapped Ham, and another one is Bizarre Bub. And they just show usually some kind of security footage of something moving. And it's like, oh, this is, could be a ghost. And there are certain things you go, yeah, that could be a ghost. That's a possibility. But you got to realize what I do for a living. I believe in a spiritual world. So it's like, okay, it's a ghost. Get over it. It's like, oh, it's a ghost. It's a ghost. Get over it. There are ways to deal with a ghost. Maybe I should tell you my ghost story. Not a literal ghost story, but first time I heard that. So, maybe it's a ghost. So, and especially around this time, you see these TV. Oh, it's a ghost. Oh, we're like Casper the Friendly Ghost. Remember that? If you haven't seen Casper the Friendly Ghost, I'm talking about the cartoon. Movie was there too, but the cartoon really focused on that. It's a ghost. And of course, people are terrified it's a ghost. And it's like, it's a ghost. Get over it. That's the one. But you see what I'm saying? Because if you say, well, that could be a ghost, we believe it, that means you believe in a spiritual world. That's really important. That means you believe in, if you believe in angels, that means you believe in a spiritual world. That's huge. And this is really where our faith begins. It doesn't begin with believing the right way to live. That's part of it, but it begins with the understanding of why, and that begins with realizing that the universe is bigger than our ability to perceive it. And if we want to fit in the universe, then we realize this and model our lives within it. And that comes with the understanding that there is, in fact, a spiritual world. I can tell you I had experience. When growing up, we, at least I don't know if everyone else did, but I always believed there was a ghost in our house. Well, how would I know that? Because I could hear it walking up the stairs at the same time every night. This little ghost walking up the stairs at the same time. And we had a banister that was a little loose. So, if you walked up the stairs as a human being, you walked up the stairs, as you grabbed the banister, it would make a little noise. And this would happen. You'd hear someone like walking up the stairs, and it would make a little noise. The banister make a little noise, but there'd be nothing there. And it's like, okay, it's a ghost. Get over it. So that's the way we always were. It doesn't cause any problem. Doesn't do anything. Doesn't cause any problems. Just get over it. So we never did understand And I don't know if anyone else living in the house actually heard this, but I did. So it was just, okay, it's a ghost. One of the interesting things that's really an issue, it really is, in many of the tropical cultures, so I work with Latinos, but it also is true with Africans. I'm not so sure about Asians, it may be, in the tropical cultures. They believe in ghosts, and they may come to talk to the priest and say, I think we have a ghost in our house. Could you help us to deal with it? They believe in ghosts, and it's like, we have a ghost in the house, kind of like, well, we have, we have, we think we have a problem with woodpeckers on the side of our house. Oh, okay, well, call someone who does wood. It's not like a big thing, but they do have an understanding of ghosts. In the English-speaking community, people may believe that they have a ghost, but they're afraid to talk about it because they'll think, well, people will think we're crazy. No, there are realities of ghosts, and so people will think we're crazy, and so they don't want it to. They're afraid to talk about it. Whereas, it's like, well, it's a ghost. Get over it. I would never say that to someone. But why I say that is, these things are real. I'll tell you a story about it on the other side of the break. These things are real, and it's not this terrifying thing you see all the time in the movies. It's just, this if it causes real problems in your house, that's a sign of something a little bit more serious. But that's a story for another time. In the meantime, you're listening to the Catholic Audio Media Podcast. We are here every single Monday through Friday at midnight and beyond, and we'll be right back right after this. Life can be challenging, but amidst the trials and tribulations, there is wisdom to be found. Welcome to Sirach 2, a chapter filled with timeless guidance and insights from the book of Sirach. In this chapter, we learn the importance of remaining steadfast in our faith, even in the face of adversity. It teaches us to be patient, for trials can shape our character and lead to spiritual growth. Seeking wisdom and understanding is of utmost importance. Sirach 2 reminds us to study the teachings of the wise, be open to correction, and follow God's commandments. By doing so, we can find true fulfillment and blessings. Don't be discouraged by the temporary prosperity of the wicked or the challenges you may face. Trust in God's justice, for He rewards those who diligently seek Him. Join us on this journey of faith as we discover the path to a meaningful and fulfilling life. Sirach 2 is your roadmap to wisdom, patience, and eternal blessings. Read Sirach 2 and let its timeless wisdom guide you through life's ups and downs. Available now in the book of Sirach, part of the Old Testament. Brought to you by the voice of St. Anthony Parish in Alston. Don't forget to subscribe to us on Patreon, patreon.com/Catholic Audio Media, patreon.com/Catholic Audio Media. Check us out. Check what we have to offer, previews of upcoming podcasts, previews of upcoming columns over at catholicaudiomedia.substack.com, your ability to comment, make suggestions, even make suggestions in upcoming programs. Check us out, patreon.com, Catholic Audio Media. We're back. So I promised you I'd tell you a little story. I got called to a house that they thought they may have ghosts. So I called up the exorcist. Yes, every diocese has an exorcist, and you call them up, say, what do you do? And he told me what to do. I won't go into the details. It's, nothing much, just, how to deal with it, prayer and stuff like that. And, but he told, that's what you do. You do this, that, and the other thing. And I'm like, because I figured he'd just turn around and say, well, don't worry about it. There are no such things. So, no, he didn't. So I said, you mean these things are real? And he went, oh, yeah. And that was my first time learning there was such a thing as ghosts. I mean, I always knew of them. I mean, I'm from New England, for crying out loud. Ghost stories are prolific up here. But that was the first time. Yeah, there are such things as ghosts. We don't fully understand them. And then since then, I've actually spoken to some exorcists. We were supposed to take a course. I don't know what it is, but every time I have to like go take a course with an exorcist or go to a seminar with an exorcist, something gets in the way that prevents me from going to it. It's amazing. So I don't know what it is. It always. And so, and I don't get into exorcism either. I don't like to do it. So anyway, the only part of this seminar that I was able to go to was the one on ghosts. And they said, it's really, they explained to us, it's, you have ghosts. There are ways to deal with it and how to address it. And one of the most fascinating things they told me, if you know someone who thinks they have a ghost in the house, to look at the history of the house, to find out the history of the house, see if there's anything there that would indicate, like, for example, I won't mention the name of the house, but it's a national landmark. It's very well known. It's out in California. Well, the owner of the house used to do seances in it. I can assure you there's probably some spiritual forces in that house, and that's not a secret per se. I'm just going to tell you, not going to tell you the name of the house, because it's a national landmark and it's a tourist attraction. But yeah, they used to do seances. Yeah, we can probably rest assured there's probably some stuff in the house. Because we believe in the spiritual world. That's what our faith really begins there. That's where the rubber hits the road. That we believe in the spiritual world. This is one of the major problems with people who take our entire faith, and you see this all the time, especially on YouTube, and reduce it to nothing more than a moral code. It's not. You can be an atheist and follow a moral code. It's so much more than that. It's a bigger understanding of the universe. So are there ghosts in the world? Yes, we believe that. But some of those ghosts some of those spiritual beings are angels. And today is the Feast of the Guardian Angels. Do I believe in guardian angels? Oh, yeah. And let me tell you why I'm laughing. I swear, since the day I've been ordained, occasionally something is going to happen, and maybe I'm going to say something that would be incredibly stupid if I said it but didn't know it at the time. I swear there are angels that go, no, no. For example, this literally happened. I was speaking to someone from Germany, and I got the term for one of the Christmas terms they use in Germany mixed up with the word Kristallnacht, which is a whole different thing, having nothing to do with Christmas. And fortunately, it's just like something just stopped me before I said the wrong word, and I swear that was like, because the words can be similar, and I don't speak German. And I just, oh, wow. Just like, oh, I really think an angel stepped in and went, no, 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 no. Yeah, do I believe in angels? Yes. Now, one of the interesting things, there are bishops and priests and whatever that I may not agree with, but that doesn't mean I dismiss them. And one of them is Bishop Athanasius Schneider, who was a huge opponent of Pope Francis. He also is really pushing a lot of the more traditional Mass stuff, which is I've nothing personally against the Latin Mass, but I think some people become idolatrous with it, and so that's Bishop Athanasius Schneider. I have very serious disagreements with him. He doesn't like Vatican II. He considers it, he says it is not infallible, and therefore we really should be focused on Trent. Well, if you understand what the church teaches, which obviously he's a bishop, he does, Vatican II doesn't supplant Trent. It builds upon it. So everything that applies in Trent, as far as our Catholic teaching, still applies, but Vatican II builds upon it, and that's part of this consideration. So I have some serious disagreements with Bishop Athanasius Schneider, but at the same time, that doesn't mean I dismiss him out of hand. I'm really not qualified to do that to begin with. I disagree. Well, I'll say with his some of his church political ideas. I'll put it that way. But I don't necessarily disagree with some of his teachings. And I want to make that clear. So if he were to speak to me and he would say, and maybe this is my military background, he would say, well, this is the way things are. I would take into account that he is a bishop. So I wouldn't dismiss him. I wouldn't tell him, well, what do you know? I would never do that. Because obviously, I could say, I disagree with you, but I would never dismiss him out of hand. Well, one of the things I really agree with is his teaching on guardian angels. He has a great teaching on guardian angels. And he really teaches, you can, that basically, if I were to sum it up, it is that guardian angels are, in fact, messengers from God, but they're messengers for us as well. I mean, he said, you can ask your guardian angel to speak to the guardian angel of someone else. Now, if you don't understand the whole spiritual world, that might sound really hokey to you, but I actually believe that. He says, yes, the guardian angels really take into account your guardian angels and pray and, bring in your guardian angel and things you may need and things. Definitely. This is real. And it's all part of that whole understanding of the spiritual world. Well, in light of that, and as I said, this is a lot. Let's go switch over to the reading. So in today's first reading, we're looking at Nehemiah. This will be the last time we're going to see Nehemiah this week and probably for the rest of the year. And remember, they're rebuilding Judah, rebuilding the temple, restoring Judah to the way it was. The people got the message that they turned away from the Lord, and that was a huge mistake. And remember, they didn't just turn away, they turned big time away from the Lord. They were engaged in child sacrifice. They were engaged in all kinds of intensely sinful activity. So like I say, the Lord didn't come down upon them because they said bad words in the temple. They actually or chewed gum at services. They were involved in some pretty evil things, and the Lord finally said, I can't tolerate this. We're going to have to deal with something here. And there was the Babylonian exile. So this is after the Babylonian exile. One of the key figures in here is the same Ezra that we saw earlier. And Ezra he's a scribe, which is basically like a lawyer for the Jewish law. So he is a scribe, and he brings out the book of the law of Moses. And so this is the law. Always understand this. When you hear the term law today, if I were to bring out a book of law, if I were to start reading Massachusetts has a different name for our department than just about any other state in the country. Every other state in the country calls them the Department of Motor Vehicles, the DMV. We call it the Registry of Motor Vehicles. So anyway, I were to read from the book published by the Registry of Motor Vehicles in Massachusetts, and I would read every law. This is the law. You stop at a red light, you go if it's safe to go at a green light, Well, this isn't the same thing, because what is the law to the people, to the Jewish people? It is the wisdom of God. So what they're doing is they're reading the law. And why is he reading the law? Well, when we've seen the reading of the law before, and one of the most powerful is in Joshua, it's when there's the reading of the law and the people are asked either they will choose to follow the law or they will reject it. And there is that famous reading from Joshua, as for me and my house, we will choose the Lord. So that's what's happening. And you see this in various places in the Old Testament. So they're reading the law of Moses. Okay, so they're reading basically, now it doesn't go into what they're specifically reading, because you could say, well, are they reading all of Leviticus? Are they reading all of Numbers as well as Exodus 20? Doesn't say. But obviously, if they're reading Exodus 20, that would take about 5 minutes, and this is like an all-day thing. So there's quite a bit of the law that they're reading. And why is he reading the law? Because it's representing a recommitment to the law of Moses. But what is the law of Moses? The wisdom of God. And that's where we get. This is the wisdom of God, and this is the law that holds the people together up until the death and resurrection of Jesus. And then there's a change. So the commandments stay in place, but there is also the law of Moses that is all there. And so they're reading this, and basically it's all about recommitting to God's law. And God's law means the wisdom of God. Remember, what's the wisdom built on in the pagan communities? An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, the Hammurabi's Code. What is it built upon in the Jewish communities? The love and mercy of God. And it's different. Now, we all know that the law is very strict in some parts, in Leviticus and Numbers, and we all know that. And a lot of it, and Deuteronomy, and a lot of it would be for various reasons that are there to protect the people from a lot of things that will destroy a society from inside out. Let me give you an example. How many Phoenicians have you been speaking with this week? I'm sure you've spoken to Jews this week, so even whether you knew it or not. And what's the difference between the Phoenicians and the Jews? The Jewish community is still here. It is very much alive. It is worldwide. We're the Phoenicians. Well, the Jewish community centers around the law of God. It centers around the Jewish culture, even what are known as secular Jews who don't believe in God. But they center around that, and that's what keeps their culture alive, whereas there is no such similarity with the Phoenicians. There may be people that can trace their heritage back to Phoenicians. I've met people who can trace their heritage back to the Mayans. So that is there. But with the Jewish culture remains, and a lot of it has to do with centering around the law of God. The law of God, the law of Moses, yes. So when we look at that and we understand this is centering around the law of God, we center around this and we understand this, and we understand this power, and we understand the Lord is drawing them together. So this is the reading of the law and calling them to recommit. And every time this pops up, it's pretty powerful. But what's the most powerful of it is towards the end of the reading, not towards the book. And we see in as they're reading it, and they're being blessed by God, and they're saying amen as it's being read, and so they're agreeing with this. And then when we look further, we see Ezra speaking to the people, reading this very important passage, which also is said by others when they have the reading in the law. And he says to them that this is a holy day to the Lord, not a day for you to be grieved, because the joy of the Lord is your strength. In other passages, similar stories, rejoicing in the Lord is our strength. This is an important aspect. This is why when someone wants to reduce our faith to nothing more than a moral code, they miss the point. We're called to understand what the Lord is doing for us, what he has done for us, what he does for us, and rejoice in it. We're called to do that, even and especially when everything seems to be going wrong. We're called to remember that rejoicing in the Lord is our strength. It is extremely important to understand that, and that's what Ezra is saying. Well, we're going to talk more tomorrow. We're going to be looking at the first reading, which is from Baruch. We're not in Nehemiah anymore. We're going to look at Baruch. We'll see that tomorrow. Have yourself a blessed day. Don't forget to subscribe to us on Patreon. Patreon.com/Catholic Audio Media. Patreon.com/Catholic Audio Media. Check us out. Check what we have to offer, previews of upcoming podcasts, previews of upcoming columns over at catholicaudiomedia.substack.com, your ability to comment, make suggestions, even make suggestions in upcoming programs. Check us out, patreon.com, Catholic Audio Media. Did you know that you can listen to Catholic Audio Media on the iHeartRadio app? Catholic Audio Media is now available through your iHeartRadio app. If you don't have the app, download it to your smartphone, tablet, or computer and subscribe through the podcast tab to Catholic Audio Media. You'll be able to hear both St. Anthony Overnight and The Voice of St. Anthony, both programs through the app. You can also enable them through your smart speaker and hear them through the smart speaker as well. Just ask for Catholic Audio Media Podcast from iHeartRadio. You can hear them anywhere. You can listen to them as you're jogging. You can listen to them as you're preparing to go to bed. You can listen to them as you're eating and having breakfast or lunch or dinner. You can hear them anytime you want at iHeartRadio through the iHeartRadio app.